for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account.
Tablets in his grip, laid down the law in fire, watch the people slip. Prophets howled in the wasteland, voices cracked and raw, spoke of judgment coming, wrote it into law. David sang his heart out, sword still wet with blood. Solomon built the temple, wisdom mixed with mud. Apostles hit the highways, letters cut like steel. Paul and John kept preaching till the empire had to kneel. Paul had a word, John had a word, every prophet had a word. David had a word, Solomon had a word, but Jesus has the last word. Yeah, the last word. Jesus has the last word. Satan spun his angle in the garden, and the night whispered half-truths, twisted every holy lie, built his little kingdom, stacked his lies up high, thought the cross would break him, man, he got it wrong. Kings rose up and fell down, empires turned to dust, every scheme and every plan got swallowed by the rust. But the blood that hit the timber and the stone that rolled away wrote the last line permanent, ain't no one can erase. Paul had a word, John had a word, every prophet had a word. David had a word, Solomon had a word, but Jesus has the last word. Yeah, the last word. Jesus has the last word. Every plan the devil whispered, every crown that tried to last, every voice that claimed authority crashes under what he said. From the manger to the mountain, from the grave to open sky, one voice cuts the chaos, and it never dies. Paul had a word, John had a word, Moses had a
Ba-ba-ba-ba-boom. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you so far have enjoyed your week. I do apologize for yesterday. We had a get together for our team here in DC. We had a dinner, and I just couldn't make it back in time. Even though I did tell you on Dear America yesterday morning that there was not going to be a last word last night. So, but as always, I like to make it up to you guys, and what better use of my time than to talk about something that literally blew up my Discord today. And for the life of me, I cannot remember who asked the question, but I got to admit, this hit me personally. And I actually talked to Shockwave as well, and a couple other veterans that I know, and yes, this hits us personally. And this is not something I want to talk about. I'm not going to lie to you. This is definitely not a conversation I want to have, because as much as I'm going to be answering your question today, and as much as I'm going to be talking to you about this, I'm going to be talking to myself, and I'm probably going to piss off a lot of veterans in the chat, including this one. But understand where it's coming from. All right, it ain't coming from me. It's coming from these books right here. And hopefully I can explain it well enough and put it in crayon enough, and hopefully you will open up your heart and your spirit enough to receive it and maybe begin a process of healing, maybe a little bit of forgiveness, lose some of that bitterness. And maybe you'll wake up in the morning and just feel like $1,000,000. And if you're wondering what's going on right now, I have a different studio set up today. So if I'm looking all over the place today, it's because I have multiple monitors. I did a lot of work today, and I'm in a really good mood. If you're wondering why I'm wearing a collared shirt, is Kendra is home. She got home today, and not only am I blessed by my wife being home, but one of my sons, Tucker, is here visiting for the weekend as well. So Daddy's happy. I'm as happy as I can be. I'm in the best possible mindset that I could be to talk about a very, very difficult topic. But before we do, we are going to talk about our sponsor for today's episode, and that is the Ultra pouches, the same thing we talked about the other day. So let's, there they are. Okay, so listen, I need you to go to takeultra.com, okay, and use code HOTSEAT for 15% off. Now, what Take Ultra is there are these little pouches. No, it's not nicotine or tobacco. These are actually nicotine-free, caffeine-free pouches that are designed to give you just focus and energy. They use a lot of these natural nootropic chemicals just to, instead of drinking coffee or hitting a pre-workout or buying a Monster or whatever energy drink you prefer, just take one of these little things, pop it in your lip, and you're good to go. I mean, you're good to go. It gives you focus, steady focus when you need it. Before, when you wake up in the morning, when you're on your way to work, or if you're headed to the gym, whatever the case may be, go to takeultra.com, use code HOTSEAT for 15% off. And I have been told, I haven't tried this flavor yet, but I hear the Blue Raz, I hear that's the one that's where it's at. And the biggest thing about this is you don't get the crash of an energy drink. Like, y'all see me, I will drink Monsters sometimes in the morning, and by like 11, I'm just ready to go night-night. But go to takeultra.com right now. Use code HOTSEAT for 15% at checkout. Okay, so let's switch this over here, and let's talk about something extremely difficult, shall we? Okay, so you saw the title of today's episode. The title is When Anger Becomes a Prison. Giving God the rage that you just can't shake. And this question was posed to me during the Discord, on my Discord channel. And the Discord channel is always in the comment section, thanks to Shock. And if you liked the countdown song, that was actually created by my brother Shockwave. That is also the Spotify link there in the comment section for his playlist. There's not a bad song on that playlist. And actually, I'm adding a couple to it later. So check that out as well. But tonight is going to be extremely personal for all of us, especially if you're an American. And I know I actually have somebody from Australia that watches the show as well. So, but for us Americans, especially for us veterans, this is a very personal subject. And this is not a subject that I really want to teach, not something I want to talk about, because it is very difficult for me to stand outside of a subject like this and examine this through a spiritual lens. It's very hard for me to do. I'm not even going to tell you a lie, okay? This is not an easy subject for me. September 11th, 2001 changed everybody that is my age or older. And for those of you that don't know, I'm 43. But everybody that's my age or older, that's into your career, that's into your life, you can trace back your success or your failure to one specific moment in time, whether it's, years in your past or just a few months or several years or whatever. That moment for me was 9/11. And I know a lot of people say that, but for me, that was the defining moment of my life. That day is what made me who I am now, as far as my country, my patriotism, and honest to God, if I have to be honest with you, my manhood. I was just a lowly private in the United States Army. I was in the final week of my medical training for the Army. We were out in the field. There were no TVs, no cell phones. We had no idea what was going on. And that rumor mill gets started. People start talking and people start chirping and adding their little 10 seconds to the story. And this person adds their side to the story. And I can honestly tell you guys that by the end of the day, I knew that New York had been attacked, but I thought the White House was gone. I thought half of New York was gone. I thought the Pentagon was gone and millions of Americans were dead. And so at the end of the day, we had a final formation. We still had about 4 or 5 days until we graduated from medical training in Texas. And our first sergeant comes out in the middle of a formation. You got all these kids, and he tells us what happens. And still, as a 17, 18-year-old kid, you still can't fathom it. You can't understand it. You're like, you hear it, but you don't really get it. And so the last thing he said to us is there are words that I will never forget for as long as I live. You're going to graduate early. We're taking you back to the barracks now. You're going to graduate tomorrow. Then you're going home. Do not unpack because America is at war. Now, this is about a 30 to 45 minute bus ride back to our barracks. Not a word was spoken. It was deathly quiet. And when we get back to the barracks, we get up to our little bay, the mail bay. And in the mail bay is a day room, what we call a day room. And it's couches and stuff like that with a big old school rear projection style TV that's sitting in the middle of the room. And me and 8 other guys that were about my age, we turned the TV on and we watched the news on repeat until the sun came up the next day. And 8 kids walked into that room. And by the time we walked out, 8 angry, aggravated, dare I say, pissed off, grown men walked out. And it changed my life forever. Because at that point, before that happened, I had a plan. I was going to join the Army. I was going to use it to pay for college. And as soon as I was done with college, bye-bye Army, I'm done. Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for the education, but color me out, sign me out. I'm done. And it was that moment that patriotism, that service, that selfless service, that all of those values that had been drilled in my head by drill sergeants, NCOs for the last year and a half of my very early career really started taking hold. And I retired in 2018. But we all watched as radical Islamists attacked our country, took over airplanes, hijacked them, and turned them into weapons. We watched 3,000 of our innocent countrymen and women murdered. We watched 2 towers collapse and fall. We watched firefighters, police officers, paramedics, ordinary Americans run toward the danger while everybody else was trying to escape. And I know a lot of you remember where you were, what you were doing, what you were wearing that day. We all became angry, not disappointed. Not the initial emotion wasn't sadness, it was anger. And if I'm being completely transparent with all of you, there have been moments over the years, especially after the deployments, where that anger crossed the line and went directly into rage. You see, I didn't get to deploy until 2003, so it was 2 years later. And then I saw firsthand how these people acted and what they were willing to do to another human being in the name of Allah, in the name of faith, in the name of you being an infidel. I saw it firsthand as a 20-year-old, E3, E4. And I can tell you, when I returned home in 2004, it didn't matter if you were Islamic. It didn't matter if you were a Muslim. If you looked like them, I had a problem. I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't want to speak to you. If you spoke to me, I'd probably cuss you out. I'd probably threaten you. Honest to God, I threatened a lot of Mexicans just because they looked like it. But eventually, the little boy grows up. God gets a hold of you, starts working on you, and then you fast forward to 2026, and I look at America today, and I see the same radical ideologies present in our country. I see terrorism all over the world. I see people openly expressing hatred that live here. I see decisions that are being made from elected officials that I personally believe, and I know you do too, that weaken our national security. And I eventually look at that 43-year-old in the mirror and I see that 20-year-old again. And all of those feelings, all of that rage and all of that anger just comes rushing back. And it's in those moments, and I know for some of you, you feel the same, where following Jesus gets not just difficult, it gets almost impossible. Now, let me just say this. Christianity does not require you to pretend that evil is not evil. All right, let's get that out of the way right now, okay? God does not expect you as a follower, as a born-again Christian or a sanctified Christian or a new Christian, a mature Christian. God does not expect you to pretend that evil is not evil. Okay, let's squash that bug right now. Jesus would never command me to call terrorism acceptable. The Bible even goes as far as it never tells a government to abandon justice and stop protecting innocent life. But Scripture also does not give you permission to surrender your heart to hatred either. And so I have to ask you guys tonight the same question that I have to ask myself the closer we get to this date that's just around the corner. I have to ask you the same question that I have to ask myself. How do I hate evil without becoming hateful? How do I demand justice without being consumed by vengeance? How can I honor and remember 9/11 without allowing 9/11 to imprison my heart 25 years later? And most importantly, and maybe it's not 9/11, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's anger directed at something else that you got going on in your life right now. I don't know, only you can tell. But the most important thing is, how do I give God the anger that I just can't seem to put down. Now, for those of you who don't know, and now that Mama is back, she will testify that this fella right here used to be a very angry dude, very rageful, would fly off the handle. I'd punch holes in walls. I'd rip doors off the hinges. I was a very angry man. So we have to ask the question, how do I give God that rage that I just can't seem to put away myself? Well, we'll start off this way with some understanding, okay? Let's understand this point first. Number one, anger isn't always a sin, okay? The Bible never deems being angry with being sinful. But there's a but coming. But it can open a door, and it can open a foothold. And so we'll start in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, 27. All right, again, that's Ephesians chapter 4, verses 26 and 27. Now, before we talk about Paul's words, we have to understand what's going on with Paul at this time, where he is, and where he's writing this letter to the church, to the Ephesians. At this moment, when Paul's writing this letter, Paul is a prisoner. All right, and you can go back to the beginning of the chapter, and he describes himself as a prisoner for serving the Lord. Now, we have to think about this for a second, because remember, we're talking about anger. All right, we're talking about rage. So Paul isn't like sitting at a Holiday Inn, okay, with his little water bottle right next to him and, MASH on the television like I'd be doing, sitting on his little bed somewhere comfortably writing a theological essay of why angry people should learn to stay calm. No, that's not what's going on here. All right, he is writing as a man in chains. You see, Paul's troubles had exploded after he had returned to Jerusalem. He was accused. A mob had attacked him. Roman soldiers had to pull him out of the crowd. They were plotting to kill him. He had spent years in custody. And eventually, Paul even appealed his case to Caesar. And by the time he had written the words that we read now in Ephesians, he can describe himself as an ambassador in chains. Humanly speaking, at this moment, Paul had every reason to be angry. This is an innocent man that had been beaten, threatened, rejected, falsely accused, imprisoned. Why? Because he was preaching the message of Jesus Christ. Every right to be angry, every right to be vengeful, every right to be rageful. And yet you read in Ephesians 4, 26, 27, he says, don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you're still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. And knowing that, where he's writing this, the situation that Paul is in, that changes everything. You see, Paul never said in 26, 27 that you shouldn't understand what anger feels like. He understood it. There's no way this dude is happy. Instead, he's saying, don't let it control you. And he gives us the reason why. Because anger that leads to sin gives the devil a foothold. Now, that word foothold, that word matters. Okay, because a foothold is a place. It's an opportunity. It's room to operate. You see, the devil doesn't necessarily have to create the thing that made you angry. The enemy simply has to ask you a question. Hey, can I borrow that wound for a second? Can I fester that just a little bit? You know, something horrible happens in your life, something bad happens like 9/11, or, your kid does something, or your wife or your husband says something cross, or, you lose your job, or you get into an argument with a friend, or something bad happens in your life, that anger comes and sets in. Then anger becomes resentment. Then resentment becomes bitterness. Then bitterness becomes hatred. And hatred starts affecting the way you think, how you speak, how you treat other people, and even people you've never met, like I was doing. It changes how you see and view the world that you've never even experienced. And we see it. We were talking about it earlier today. It's like all the people, like on Jersey Talks, he was talking all of these people that are begging for this civil war. You have so much hate in your heart that you're asking for something that you've never experienced. And trust me when I tell you, you don't want no part of. And you get to this point in your life, and you get to these stages in anger and resentment and hatred, and suddenly Satan takes something evil that happened against you, and he starts using it for something destructive inside of you. And this is the point to where it hits me on a personal level. Because I can say, but Lord, I was there. Like, I was in a uniform. I watched September 11th happen. I saw the man over and over. They showed that over and over. The man that jumped out of the top of the building to stop from being burned alive. They showed it over and over again. But Lord, I watched it. I saw it. Paul could say, well, I was beaten for preaching Christ. And I can say, yeah, okay, but look at what those terrorists did. Look at what those men did. And Paul could turn around and go, yeah, but look at what my persecutors did to me. And then I can fire right back and go, well, guess what? I lived that life in the military, in the uniform. I saw what these people are capable of. I have every reason to be angry. And then Paul slams the door and he says, yeah, but don't give the devil a foothold. My anger, honestly, may have begun because of something evil that happened on 9/11. It absolutely did. That angry guy was born that day. But at that point, years later, I allowed my anger to control my heart for so many years. But you have to ask that, are you allowing yesterday's terrorists to still take over territory from you that they never deserved to begin with? And worse. And here's the worst part. And let me spin it to you like this. What if you're giving Satan access to territory that belongs to Jesus? Now, you can amen or you can oh me, but I'm here to tell you the devil doesn't care why you're angry. All right, he doesn't. He doesn't care why you're angry. He only cares whether you'll give him enough room inside that anger for him to start building something destructive. And point two, there's a difference, and we've talked about this before, there's a difference between righteous anger and rage. You see, Scripture doesn't teach that all anger is automatically sinful, and anybody tells you that is a lie. Okay, period. All right, there are things that Christians should be angry about. And as a matter of fact, I want to take it a step further and just point at you and say, there are some things out there that as a Christian, if you're not angry about, I question you. All right, children being abused, yeah, that should anger us. This case that's going on right now, that should anger us. Trafficking kids should anger us. Terrorism should anger you. Murder should anger you. Corruption in our government should anger you. Religious extremism being used to justify slaughter should anger you. Now, Jesus himself, we talk about it all the time. Jesus himself demonstrated righteous anger. But there's a difference. Righteous anger asks the question, what is right? Where sinful rage asks the question, who can I hurt? And how can I hurt whoever I blame? You see, one wants justice and the other wants vengeance. One of these subjects remain under the umbrella of God's control, while the other begins controlling us as people and as believers. Psalms 4:4 warns us to not allow anger to lead us into sin. You see, let me put it like this. The fire isn't always the problem. Okay? And I know you're like, well, what are you talking about? Now we're talking about fire? All right. The fire is not always the problem. The question is, who controls the fire? You see, a fire inside a fireplace, well, that'll keep your house warm. But you take that fire outside that fireplace and you let it loose, it'll burn your house down. And some of us keep saying and asking the question, well, I'm angry because I care. Well, maybe you are. Okay, but here's the harder question. Is your anger serving righteousness, or has your anger started serving itself? You see, righteous anger wants evil stopped. Sinful anger wants somebody hated. And I know that's hard, and I know that's a lot to swallow. I know it is. But righteous anger wants evil stopped. It wants justice served. But sinful rage just wants somebody to hate. Number 3, and this is where we have to be disciplined. And this is, I don't even want to say this, but I'm going to. Don't let a terrorist teach you how to see an entire group of people. And I know. You don't even, I don't even have to look at the chat right now. I know. I know what 99.9% of the people that are going to speak against me right now, I already know what you're going to say. Because I've said the same thing for 25 years. But don't let a terrorist teach you how to see an entire group of people. September 11th attackers were Islamic terrorists. Their acts were evil, no question. Their ideology was used to justify mass murder. We don't need to sanitize that. We call that for what it is. We should identify terrorism accurately and honestly. We should confront radical ideology honestly. But Christianity and being in service to God and being a man of Christ does not give me permission to hold every Muslim responsible for the crimes committed by those terrorists that day. It doesn't. It doesn't. Deuteronomy 24:16 establishes the principle of individual responsibility. Ezekiel 18:20 essentially says the same thing. The person who sins is accountable for said sin. That means I can sit here and me and you can have this conversation and we can both agree that I oppose radical Islamic ideology. And you're not wrong for saying that. I'm right there with you. I can oppose terrorism from any side, whether it's a religious reason or just somebody with TDS or a nutcase. I can believe America should know who's entering this country. I can demand that elected officials uphold their oath to protect the citizens of this country. I can expect those same officials who swore this oath to take national security seriously. But here's what I can't do. I can't meet a Muslim doctor, soldier, a neighbor, a shopkeeper, a coworker, an immigrant, a family, and automatically assign them the guilt of 19 terrorists that I've never met. And I'm probably going to lose a lot of you for that. But I want to flip it on you. How many Teslas have been keyed, have been windows busted out? How many yard signs have been ripped up? All right, how many homes have been vandalized just because we voted for somebody different than you voted for? Now, that's not the same thing, but it's the same mentality. It's the same spirit. We harp on all of these politicians that stand up and say the biggest threat to American society now is Christian nationalism or white supremacy or some kind of nonsense like that, because they're taking an action of a few people and judging an entire race. And yet here we are doing the same thing because of 19 people we've never met. I'm sorry, folks, that's not discernment. It never was and it never will be. That's not discernment. That's called prejudice. And there's another reality that we forget. Islamic terrorists have murdered enormous numbers of other Muslims as well. There are people who have fled extremist governments precisely because they wanted no part of that ideology. Salty Tattooed Mom and Salty just had one on their show. He is now a Christian apologist. Same people. But he looks just like them. True biblical discernment recognizes the difference and the distinctions, whereas hatred stops making them. Discernment identifies evil exactly how it is, precisely. Whereas hatred paints everybody with the same brush. We also have to understand that your anger is not automatically God's anger either. James 1:19 and 20 gives us a brutal reminder. Human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Notice the words and the terminology here. Human anger, that's mine. That's yours. But there is something dangerous that Christians sometimes do. We get angry and we get pissed off and we get rageful and we just immediately and automatically assume, well, God must feel the exact same way that I felt. He must feel the exact same way that I feel. I'm furious. Then God, he has to endorse my fury. I hate this person. Therefore, God must hate this person the way that I do. I'm outraged and aggravated. Therefore, everything I say while I'm outraged and full of anger and resentment and bitterness, everything I say must somehow be righteous. No. No. You see, the difference is God's anger is perfectly holy. Mine isn't. God knows every person's heart. I don't. God knows every motive. I don't. God knows everything that happened before the moment I witnessed it. I don't. God can execute judgment without sinful hate and hatred contaminating his judgment. I struggle with that. So before I ask, Lord, do you see what they're doing? I occasionally have to ask the question, Lord, do you see what this is doing to me? And that's harder. That's a much harder thing to do, and that's a challenge. Okay, the closer we get to this date, let's instead of, Lord, do you remember what they did? Do you remember what happened? Do you remember all of this? Do you remember what they did? As we get closer, how about we ask, Lord, do you see what these moments, do you see what this time in our history, do you see what it's doing to me? Just because our anger started off in the right direction and for the right reason doesn't mean that everything that our anger produced will be righteous. And we talked earlier in Ephesians about Paul being in a prison. Well, anger becomes a prison. when it starts changing you. Psalms 37:8 says, stop being angry. Turn from your rage. Don't lose your temper. It only leads to harm. And there's something really strange about anger and hatred. Usually the person you hate doesn't experience any of it. You do. See, the people that you hate, they don't feel a thing. And most of them could care less if you hated them or not. So it doesn't affect them. It affects you. The terrorists that you're furious about, they don't even know you exist. They have no clue that you're furious. The politician you're screaming about is not sitting at your dinner table. The person who made the comment in your comment section isn't lying awake at night, losing sleep because you're pissed off. But here we go. But your spouse experiences it. Your children do. Your friends do. Your prayer life is affected by it. Your peace is affected by it. Eventually, you wake up angry. You turn on the television angry. You scroll through social media angry. You go to bed angry. And then you wake up one morning looking for something or someone else to justify the anger that's already there. And eventually you get to a place where you're not reacting to events anymore. You're not using logic to determine this happened, why did this happen, how do we get over this hump and get to the place that we need to be. What you start doing is you start feeding an identity. Well, I'm an angry guy. I'm an angry girl. I'm the guy who's had enough. I'm done. I've had enough. I'm the guy that I want everybody to know that I'm furious. Well, you better be careful. Trust somebody who's been there. Anger can become addictive, just like anything else. Outrage gives you adrenaline. Outrage makes you feel the most powerful. And that's when peace starts feeling foreign and it starts feeling weird. And once you cross that threshold, that's when anger has become a prison. If somebody who isn't even in the room can control your emotions, you've given them way too much authority over your life. I just want to say that again, okay? Because some of you need to hear this. And Kendra, if you're in the chat, honey, I left my water on the counter. Can you please bring me that? But I'm going to say this again. If somebody who is not even in your room, who is not even in your home, who doesn't even live across your street, doesn't live in your city, your state, can control your emotions, then you have given them way too much authority over your life. Thank you. Whew. Water break. Oof. Much better. Justice and vengeance are not the same thing. As much as we'd like them to be, and guys, listen, I know I make the jokes all the time. I mean, I've got the tattoo on the back of my arm. I volunteer as tribute. I'm Frank Castle. I don't mind being Frank Castle. I love the Punisher. Listen, that's where I've got to check myself, especially on Dear America. I've got to check myself. And always remind you guys that justice and vengeance are not the same thing. Romans 12:19 says, never take revenge. To leave that to the righteous anger of God. Now, again, we have to go back. We have to go back and remind ourselves that does not mean Christians oppose justice. Just keep reading Romans, okay? Don't stop there. Like I said, just keep going. Because Romans 13 teaches us that governing authorities have responsibility to punish wrongdoing. That a government, a legit government, has a responsibility to protect innocent people. Law enforcement should arrest criminals. Military should protect the country. Terrorist networks should be dismantled and destroyed. People who are planning attacks should be stopped. Borders, we've already had this discussion, should be secured. People entering a nation, I don't care if it's America or Poland or where, people entering a nation should be properly vetted. Criminals should face consequences. But the thing is none of those ideas require hatred. Justice says protect innocent people. Vengeance says I want someone to suffer because I hate them. And that's two totally different things. And here's where we have to look in the mirror. And I know a lot of you watch this show with your headphones on, and maybe you're alone right now. And I really hope that tonight, if you're struggling with anger, if you're struggling with rage, and you've reached a point in your life where through all of this craziness, whether it's 9/11, whether it's the COVID era, and all this corruption, I really hope that you're sitting by yourself right now so you can stop and do a self-assessment and be open and honest with yourself. God's watching. But this is where we have to examine ourselves. Would justice be enough to satisfy me? Or have I become so angry that only somebody's suffering would satisfy me? And that's where your heart begins to reveal itself right there. Because justice protects what's good and vengeance feeds what's dark inside of us. Now, again, these are red words, okay? These are red words. I didn't say them. All right, so don't get mad at me. All right, you can go, you can look. They're red words. They're important. Okay, the red words and there's black words. Those red words are important. Jesus commands something that feels impossible. And in Matthew 5:44, he says something that still leaves me scratching my head at times. And again, these are the red words. These are not Todd's. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. I get a little mad reading it. I get a little mad saying it myself. I'm not gonna lie. Look, I'm gonna be transparent with you. There are moments where I'm flipping through this book and I'm like, "Are you sure?" And this is one of those moments. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. But understand, again, Jesus. Now that doesn't mean you trust everybody. We ignore threats. We pretend that ideology doesn't matter. We throw away national security, invite dangerous people into your home, ignore criminal behavior. No, he said love your enemy. Biblical love, now remember, we talked about this. Biblical love doesn't equal approval. Okay? No, I can love you and not approve of what you're doing. And Jersey talked about this. I'm fixing to get on a tangent. Jersey talked about this earlier, about this Clancy trial, this woman that shot her son in the head just so the dad would never get custody. Now there's another woman that slit 3 kids' throats. One of them survived. The other 2's dead. And let me tell you why this is going on. Number one, it's because evil exists. The second that Adam and Eve ate the fruit, it was done. Evil and sin and all of this horrible, horrible stuff entered the world. That's one. Number two, it's because we have replaced accountability and responsibility with sympathy and empathy. You can empathize and sympathize with somebody and still love them enough to hold them accountable and responsible for their actions, and America is missing the boat. That, honestly, if I have to be honest with you, is biblical love. I love you enough to hold you accountable. Biblical love means I refuse to surrender my soul to hate and rage. And look, prayer for enemies doesn't equal Lord, please let them keep doing evil. No, you can pray, God, stop them cold, expose them, destroy their plans, protect the innocent, bring your justice. Sure. I highly recommend it. Stop them, Lord. Expose them for who they really are. I pray all the time, Lord, please expose James Tallarico for what he really is. Please allow the Christians in the state of Texas to realize what that man really is. And that is a megaphone for the devil. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then on the flip side of that, and this is all of what I just said. That's easy. Lord, stop them. Lord, expose them. Lord, bring justice. But we have to remember. There's another side of this coin. Because in the same breath, you also need to be saying, and Lord, before that judgment comes, save their soul. Those prayers can exist together. And trust me when I tell you, I know what hatred is. Like hating enough to end another life. That's a rage I hope none of you have ever experienced. Ever. I have. And it is the most controlling, dangerous feeling ever. But remember Saul of Tarsus. Saul persecuted Christians. He was there. He approved Stephen's execution. He went looking for other believers to arrest. And imagine an early Christian. Let's back up for a second. And imagine Peter, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John going, God, would you please get rid of this dude? Like, would you just, like, where's the lightning? Like, where's the, look, you just left. Like, can you just, please? Can we just, Saul, like really quick, like he's destroying our church. You left us with the church. We're trying to build it. He's destroying it. Can we get some wrath here? Can you imagine that? What would have happened? 75% of the New Testament would have never, those words would have never been spoken. Then Jesus meets Saul on the road to Damascus, and Saul becomes Paul. And eventually the man that was hunting Christians eventually writes the majority of the New Testament. And honestly, I am thankful that God saw something in Saul that nobody else could see. Now, let's be real and honest with one another. All right, does that mean that every terrorist is eventually going to become Paul? Of course not, okay? Let's not deal in absolutes. But it does mean that I have no clue who God can save, because that ain't my job. that is in a Christian description, job description, that ain't in there. I can ask God to stop someone's evil without asking God to stop loving their soul. Remember 9/11. For sure. That's not a day we should ever forget. I don't care if you have children that weren't born, didn't witness it, don't remember it. I almost think that you have a responsibility as a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle to remind them that we should remember, we should honor 9/11. But there's a difference between remembering it and living there. You see, I don't think we should forget it. You should teach your kids. You should tell them what happened. Remember that 3,000 people they went to work and never came home. The firefighters climbing the stairs while everybody else was coming down. Remember the police officers, the paramedics, the passengers of Flight 93, the military members who answered the call, who took the flag afterward, the families whose lives were changed forever. And remember what unchecked evil is capable of. And remember what complacency can cost you. But remembrance and imprisonment are two different things. Philippians 3, and I always go back to Philippians. I can always find a nugget in Philippians. This is the best book in the Bible, bar none. At least that's my opinion. But it's always, and I always go back to this verse, and this is my favorite verse in the entire Bible. I can't determine it between this verse or the one where God promises that he will set up a table in the presence of your enemies. I love something about that. But Philippians 3 Paul speaks about reaching forward toward what lies ahead. You see, the past can teach me things without owning me. All right, I can remember 9/11 without emotionally living there forever. I've crossed that threshold. Because here's the thing, and this all boils down to the nugget, my answer to your question. Here in 2026, this is what I refuse to give up. I refuse to give up 25 more years of my heart. I refuse to give them any more of my life, any more of my time. They've already took enough. They've already took enough. They don't get my peace too. All right, they took 3,000 lives, countless lives of the men and women of the military afterwards. And for a lot of us, they took 25 years of our peace. That's enough. No more. Remember the wound. That's fine. Honor the fallen. Learn the lesson. But don't build your home inside that pain. And real strength is in self-control. Proverbs 16:32 tells us it's better to be patient than powerful. It's better to have self-control than to conquer an entire city. That's nuts. Like that's one of those moments where I go, really? It's better to be patient and have self-control than I think conquering a city is pretty cool. But no, that's an incredible statement. Because our culture tells us that strength means being loud, being aggressive, having the last word, destroying somebody in an argument, a debate, a conversation online. Making everybody know, hey, I'm the angry hot seat guy that likes to react to videos and cuss at them and scream and call them Peckerwood and all that stuff. But God tells you, do you really want to see strength? Do you really want to see the power that you have available to you? Watch somebody who could explode and doesn't. You see, anybody can lose their anger. I mean, anybody can throw something. A 2-year-old throws a temper tantrum for not getting Cocoa Puffs in the grocery store. Anybody can scream. Anybody can type something hateful. Anybody can let rage take over their life. But it takes real wisdom, real power, and real God-given strength to look and say, Jesus owns my mouth. Jesus owns these hands. He owns my thoughts, and he owns my heart. That's true power. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God gives us power, love, and self-discipline. God gives you power, love, and self-discipline. What a combination. Not cowardice, not weakness. Controlled strength. Self-control isn't a weakness. It's not. Self-control is not weakness. It is actual strength that has submitted itself to God. And if you saw last week's episode, the last episode that we did, stop praying for things that God is already taken away from you or God's trying to take away from you. Okay, let's add on to that a little bit by saying, stop feeding what you're asking God to kill. Now here we go. Get them toe knuckles ready because I'm about to step on them after my water break. Like I said, soften your heart because here it comes. Stop feeding what you're asking God to kill. Philippians 4:8, always Philippians, tells believers to deliberately think about what is true, what is honorable, what is right, what is pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and worthy of praise. Now, that doesn't mean that we ignore current events. That doesn't mean that we stop paying attention. But some of us spend 6 hours like this. Or right here on Rumble, all day long, just spoon feeding your anger, spoon feeding it. And at the end of the night, you spend 10 minutes asking God for peace. You hook to your television, anger. Twitter, you're looking for anger. Facebook, looking for anger. Reels, looking for anger. YouTube, looking for anger. Oh, look, there's another crime. There's another terrorist. There's another politician. There's another outrage. Another video. Another comment section. Another argument. And then you lay your head down on your pillow at night and you go, God, why can't I find peace? Maybe it's because you keep feeding the very thing you're asking God to starve. You can't pour gasoline in your mind all day long and then wonder why your spirit always feels on fire. Sometimes anger needs prayer, but sometimes anger needs repentance. And sometimes anger just needs to stop being fed. Turn the television off. Put your phone down. Open the Bible. Take your family somewhere. Serve somebody. Call somebody who's lonely. Help out a veteran. Feed somebody who's hungry. Encourage somebody who is hurting. Do something righteous instead of spending another 3 hours staring at everything that's unrighteous. Yes, some anger needs to be prayed away. I agree with you. Some anger needs to be prayed away. But folks, I love you enough to tell you this. There's some anger out there that just needs to be starved. And I ask you to ask God this question. What is your anger hiding? Because sometimes rage isn't the deepest emotion. Sometimes anger is fear. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it's helplessness, betrayal. Sometimes you've watched 9/11 and realized just how vulnerable we really are. People can hurt us. They can hate us. Life can change in one morning. And anger felt stronger than fear. So we picked anger. Life changed on 9/11 like that. And in that moment, anger felt stronger than terror. So we picked anger. And God already knows what's underneath it. Psalms 139, 23-24 gives us one of the bravest prayers any human being can pray. And we've talked about this a lot, but you better be careful. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Not search everybody else. Not this person for what he did or what she did. No, search me. Show me, Lord, what's underneath this rage. Show me what's underneath this anger. Is it fear? Is it prejudice? Is it bitterness? Is it grief? Is it pride? Is it righteous concern? It's probably some combination of those things. But God cannot heal what we're determined to hide from him. Okay? Understand that. God cannot begin the process of healing those things that you are bound and determined to keep away from Him and to hide from Him. Now, does He know? Of course, He's God. He's just waiting for you to open your mouth and admit to it. Stop lying to yourself. There are times where anger is the armor, but God wants to heal what's underneath it. Now, let's get off the toes for just a second because I've stepped on them quite a bit. Mine are throbbing. Forgiveness does not cancel accountability. Nowhere, no shape, no form, no fashion. Sorry, doesn't. And before we get to 12, because I've seen a few things in the chat. All right, listen, if you watch and listen to Rumble all day long, I'm not telling you you're wrong for doing that. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is if after about 4 or 5 hours of scrolling through social media or watching shows here on Rumble, and you just have this anger and rage built up, that's when we really need to start adjusting. Okay, our screen time of what we're listening to, or in between shows, man, throw on some, Josh Howerton, or throw on some praise and worship. Get your mind right. Like when you feel like your spirit is getting off center. All right, I don't care if it's in the middle of a show, if in somebody's show, if you're watching Dan and right in the middle of it, or Crowder, or me and Graham, and you start feeling that spirit getting off centered, man, turn it off. You have my permission. Shut it off. Go walk away. Listen to some Brandon Lake. Go listen to Josh Howerton. Listen to these pastors. Feed your soul and recenter yourself. I mean, you can always go back. Okay, it's a great thing about Rumble. You guess what? Pause. Walk away. Calm down. Chill. Thank you, Lord. Give me the. Okay, now we're good. We're back center. We're straight. Okay, so don't misunderstand. I'm not like bad. That's not what I'm doing here. Okay, let's get back on point. Forgiveness doesn't cancel accountability. We have absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, reached a place in society that, we have confused forgiveness with consequence-free living. That's not biblical, people. Like, it's just not. Okay, you can forgive somebody and still call the police. All right, you can forgive somebody and still testify against them in court. You can forgive somebody and say, "Yeah, I'm a juror, and I recommend the death penalty." Yeah, guess what? You can do that. You can forgive somebody and establish boundaries. You can forgive somebody and still say, "You belong in prison for the rest of your life." You can pray for someone's salvation while believing justice to include old Sparky should still be carried out. There is nothing wrong with that. It is 100% biblical. Forgiveness is saying is that I'm giving up my personal claim to vengeance. It does not say what you did doesn't matter. No. Because here's the thing. All right, if the cross that you have around your neck and the cross that I have on this up here, if the cross, it proves both things. Sin is so serious and is something that should be taken so serious that Christ had to die for it. And yet, on the other side, grace is so powerful that Christ forgives sinners. Both are true at the same time. The cross proves that sin is such a danger and is so serious that an innocent man had to shed his blood for it. But also that death and that resurrection equaled a grace that is so powerful that Christ forgave the very sin that is so serious. Christians should never minimize evil. Never. We should never minimize evil. Being a Christian tells me that evil doesn't get the final word. It doesn't get the final say-so. You see, forgiveness, if you will allow it, forgiveness releases vengeance. It lets it go. It doesn't erase consequences, though. And don't let that evil reproduce itself inside of you. Romans 12:1 says, don't let evil conquer you. Conquer evil by doing good. See, we think that evil wins when somebody commits a terrorist attack. We think that evil wins when criminals escape justice. We think that evil wins when corruption succeeds. We think evil wins when bad leaders make bad decisions. But there's another way that evil wins. Evil wins when something evil happens. And then that evil permanently changes you into somebody Christ never called you to become. Now, that's heavy, okay? But evil truly wins when something evil happens, and then that evil permanently changes the person you are into somebody that Christ never called you to be. If terrorism caused permanent hatred to live inside me, evil stole something else. If corrupt leadership, presidents, elected officials destroy my experience and my ability to experience peace, evil stole something else. If fear causes me to hate somebody I've never met simply because of their ethnicity, nationality, or their religion, then evil stole something else. If every day of my life is controlled by something terrorists did 25 years ago, then evil took something away from me. No. Enough. That's enough. Fight evil, expose evil, oppose evil, hold people accountable, protect your family from evil, demand that government confront evil, but do not allow evil to reproduce itself inside of your heart, because ultimately, and at the end of the day, the battle isn't only against the evil that's around you. It's also against the evil that's gaining territory inside you. You have not completely defeated evil if defeating it requires you to become more like it. Sorry, but not really. Again, I'm talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to anybody that's watching. You haven't defeated evil if by defeating it requires you to become just like it. So, well, Todd, okay, all this sounds great, but what do I do? Okay, I'll give it to you. What do I do with this anger? You take it to God. No. And when I say take it to God, I ain't talking about the cleaned up version of your anger. All right, I'm not talking about the church version of your anger. All right, I ain't talking about the stripped away version of your anger that you've been hiding for a long time. I'm talking about that raw anger, the real anger. God, I'm angry. I remember when those towers fell. I remember those people jumping. I remember those firefighters walking straight into hell. I remember seeing those things happen today, and it scared me. I remember, God, I believe some of our leaders are making dangerous decisions. God, I want justice. God, sometimes I want vengeance. And then I have to pray the sentence that changes everything. But God, don't allow my anger to make me unlike Jesus. Lord, don't make me indifferent. Make me discerning. Don't make me cowardly. Make me courageous. Don't make me silent about evil either. Make me truthful. But don't allow courage to become cruelty. Don't allow discernment become prejudice, and don't allow patriotism to become hatred. That's not patriotism. And you can spin it and say it all, you can spin it however you want. But don't allow your patriotism to become hatred, because it's not the same thing. Don't let justice become vengeance, and don't let memory become imprisonment. And don't let anger give the devil a foothold in a territory that belongs to Christ. Because look, I'm done. I refuse to give the terrorists another victory. I refuse to give politicians ownership over my peace. I'm done with that life. I refuse to give Satan room inside wounds that Jesus Christ died to heal. My heart belongs to Christ. My anger belongs under his authority. My justice is under his authority. My politics is under his authority. My patriotism is under his authority. My word is underneath his authority. Everything bows down to Jesus, including my anger. And your closing prayer tonight should sound something like this. Father, you know what's inside of me. You know the memories that I still carry. You know what 9/11, or you know what, I'm going to do it like this. You know what insert whatever here did to me and did to whatever insert here. Lord, you know the anger. You know the fear. You know the grief. You know the frustration I felt when I believed evil isn't being taken seriously. But Lord, give me courage to call evil what it is. Give our leaders wisdom, protect this nation. Protect innocence, strengthen our military, strengthen our law enforcement, expose the terrorists and their plots, destroy plans to intend to harm innocent lives, bring criminals to justice. But Father, while you protect this country, protect our hearts too. Don't allow righteous anger to become sinful rage. Don't allow vigilance to become prejudice. Don't allow justice to become vengeance. And don't allow fear to become hatred. And don't allow the evil one to gain a foothold through wounds that we've been carrying for way too long. Search my heart, O Lord. Correct my heart, O Lord. Heal my heart, O Lord. And somehow, some way, teach me to love my enemy without becoming naive about evil. Teach me to forgive without abandoning accountability. Teach me to remember without being imprisoned by the memory. Give me power, give me love. Give me self-control, and when anger begins to rise, remind me that my heart belongs to Jesus. And that's the last word. Love you, miss you, mean it. I hope you enjoy your weekend, guys. I really do. I hope you get a break. I hope you take some time to just kind of chill and get off this stuff for a while. Probably going to do so at some point this weekend. I don't know yet. We'll see. But enjoy your weekend. Spend some time with some family. Spend some time off of these devices. Spend some time off of the television. Like, look, I love Rumble, but look, sometimes your peace is more important than somebody's and all that stuff. Sometimes your peace is more important than hanging out with me for a couple hours a day. And I know that's weird because, I mean, apparently that's breaking some kind of influencer code, but, you know, whatever. Before I go, I'm going to talk about the Rumble wallet, and then I'm going to pray us out of here, and then we're going to roll out. Okay, we're going to roll out. We're going to get into our weekend. Let's talk about this Rumble wallet all the time. I talk about it because I use it exclusively for crypto by actually buying Bitcoin. You can scan this QR code over here, or you can go to your Apple store, your App Store, your Google Play Store, whatever type of device you have. I'm not judging you. I don't care. Samsung's a good phone. So is an iPhone. I like them both. But what I will say about the Rumble wallet and why I like it more than any of these other apps that deal in cryptocurrency is because it takes all the complexity out of it. Like it links directly up to your Rumble account. It links directly to your bank account, your debit card, your credit card. And as soon as you do it, you can go buy your Bitcoin. All right. And if Bitcoin still scares you, then you can go buy gold. All right. It's digital gold, but it's backed by real gold or dollar-backed stable coins or whatever you choose. Just FYI, Bitcoin's up like a lot right now. So like I said, it's still going up. I hope you're listening because some of y'all would be making some money right now if y'all just listen to me in shock. But some of y'all too scared to make money. So, do you. But go, like I said, scan the QR code or you can go to wallet.rumble.com. Check it out. I'm telling you, it's worth it. So check it out. Makes it simple, makes it easy. But all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I love you. I miss you. I mean it. I hope you have a great weekend. And before we go, we're going to pray this thing out, and then I'm going to let you guys go. Father, we love you. Lord, we praise your name. Lord, I just ask that you give us all the courage to just let go of this anger. That for whatever reason, maybe it's not 9/11. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's finances. Maybe it's a relationship with a child. Maybe it's a relationship with a friend. Whatever it is. But we're holding on to some anger. We're holding on to some bitterness. We're holding on to some things that just are not doing our spirit any good. As a matter of fact, Lord, it's disconnecting us from you. And there's a lot of people, including myself at times, that I feel disconnected from you. And that reason is because I'm holding on to some anger that I should have let go a long time ago. And Lord, I ask you give us the courage and the discernment. First, give us the discernment to recognize, and then give us the courage to let go. Father, we love you. We thank you for all that you do, and everybody out there, Lord, that I hope they just put your blanket of protection over all of them. But Lord, also put somebody in their path this weekend to help make an eternal decision and give them the discernment to know who that person is and give them the courage to speak up, to talk about your name with boldness and bravery. Father, we love you, and we thank you for all that you do. And we ask all these things in your son's name. And all God's people said, amen. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll see y'all Monday.
Hold on just a little while longer. Don't you give up yet. What he started, he ain't finished. There's still more ahead. Hold on. Hold on, hold on.
God's not through with you yet.
No, no.
He's not through with you yet.